I used to think that you had to spend thousands of dollars to get a YouTube studio that actually looks nice. But having done freelance, a 9 to 5 in content creation, and now trying to become a small-time YouTuber, it doesn't have to be that complicated, nor expensive. That's why today I'm going to be talking about the only 3 things that you actually need to have a nice YouTube studio. And spoiler alert, it's not a camera. This was shot on my iPhone 13 mini, and I think the results speak for themselves. Before getting into the list, I will say I always had this thought that I had to have the perfect setup before starting YouTube, and I was really self-conscious about the lighting and how the videos looked. But after having invested some money into things, I realized that that's not the most important part, and it's just getting into actually making videos, putting yourself out there. That is way more important than the gear. But also being a gearhead, I gotta talk about the gear. So starting in the order that I think I would buy them now, if I were to start over again, number 1 is the Rode Wireless Go. Now, not specifically this mic, but just a wireless mic system in general. Everyone really focuses on the visuals, and it makes sense. YouTube is a video platform. But at the end of the day, if you have really garbage audio, no matter how good the visuals are, it's gonna be really hard to finish watching. Even looking at some of the biggest YouTubers like Ryan Trahan, they're literally shooting on an iPhone, and then they have a professional audio setup. And I think that just goes to show how important audio really is in the YouTube game. Now, I primarily use a shotgun mic and a wireless mic setup, but for a studio, I would probably go with a wireless mic setup because you're usually having your camera farther away from you, meaning that the shotgun mic is going to pick up different types of noises like the heating vent or the light or just like other people moving around. So it's just going to really muddy up your audio. Whereas if you can get a wireless microphone, then you can use it like I do and hand hold it and then get the best quality out of it rather than clipping it on your chest. But you can also move around and you have more options. You don't have to limit yourself to how far the camera is to make sure that your audio is actually good quality. And in a studio setup, I think the convenience of having a shotgun mic, not having to turn things on, plug things in to actually record the audio is beaten out by the fact that you're going to get better quality audio by having it closer to you when you speak. Now, like I said, I'm currently using the Rode Wireless Go 2s. I like the quality. I think I might have overpaid for what I got. The convenience and the look of these isn't my favorite when you're clipping them on. Another setup that I use frequently for work is the DJI mics. Those ones are a little bit more compact. They have the magnet, and I've been told that you can get the magnet setup for the Rode Wireless Go's, but I still just don't like how chunky these things look. And just visually speaking, I feel like it's messy, doesn't look that professional, so I'd rather go with the handheld style. That being said, for a handheld style, I actually prefer the Rode. I don't know why, it's like an iconic mic for me, and that's just like a weird quirky thing. Doesn't have to do anything with the quality, whatever. I think both of them will be plenty for YouTube videos. And I haven't had the chance to try other mics, but who knows what's in the future. I would get this first because I think the rest of the items on this list, you can do something else to kind of make up for it. But just crap audio, there's nothing that you can possibly do. That is why I would get a wireless microphone setup first. Now, next on this list is a tripod. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I rock a cheap tripod. I haven't invested into anything expensive, but for a YouTube studio setup, I really don't think you need to. If you're gonna have it in the same place, in the same style, with the same job every time, then you don't really need to have something that expensive. It's not like you're out in the wild where like wind is blowing or some people are walking around. You know that it's going to be standing on a very flat place with no environmental issues. Just need it to be able to hold your camera. But if you're really tight on a budget and you want to make your studio as cost effective as possible, yeah, go for like the cheap options. But if you are planning on doing other things with your tripod, maybe think about something other than like the cheapest Amazon Basics one. The reason why I put this as number 2 is actually because I feel like you can get away with putting your camera on like ledges, on your desk, on a windowsill. You can put it on different places to get the right height. And you can like adjust your chair to get the right height as well. Now, the best part about getting the tripod is now that you can control all the things. Your background way more, you can control the distance, you can control the focal length. It's gives you a lot more freedom of how you want to set up your shots. I say this in every video that I mention a tripod in, but tripods just don't change in technology that much. They're things that you kind of use for years on end. There's not like an upgrade every single year, like a MacBook or Apple products. Wink, wink, got something coming up. So spending a little bit more money to get something that you know you want and that you know you'll use, and maybe even just like makes it easier to be creative, is one thing to consider when looking into tripods. But I have yet to put my money where my mouth is because I have not upgraded my tripod yet. So I'll let you guys know when I do. Now, third, and arguably the most expensive and somewhat important aspect of a YouTube studio is a light. Right now, I'm using a Godox SL62D plus this rectangular softbox and a light stand. And I think in total, this put me at around $350, and that's in Canadian. I would argue that this is probably the best purchase that I've made in terms of upgrading my lighting setup and the look of my videos in general. I use this thing for everything from vertical videos to my talking head to just lighting products and shooting product shots. It is my workhorse and is my only key light. I really like it because it's not that quiet. It's plenty bright to use inside, and I haven't found any limitations as of yet for my uses, which is just like filming YouTube videos and making content. I'm not shooting like short films or anything, so I don't need to beat out the sun whatsoever. So it's been a really good fit, and it was really cheap in my opinion for like a light. And even though it's not the most space efficient thing, I was able to kind of squeeze it into every single room and make like a studio setup. That was the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, when my bathroom is not big. I would argue that this unlocked the most freedom for filming just YouTube videos and content in general. I used to use just natural light. I would put my stuff on a window and just let that light my scene. But once I got this light, everything definitely started to look a lot more professional. It allowed me to film when I wanted. Didn't matter if the sun was up, sun was setting, didn't matter. The lighting is always going to be somewhat consistent with this light. It let me shoot where I wanted in my office, living room, kitchen, the bathroom. So why did I put it as number 3? And the last thing that I would buy of these like essentials. First is because it's one of the more expensive things that you're gonna have to purchase for your setup. Second is because it's not one of those universal things that you're always taking with your camera. For a studio setup, absolutely essential. But if you're doing more things than just shooting talking head for YouTube, then you're not taking it out with you to like film outside, vlog, anything that isn't inside, I guess. So at times it might just sit in your closet for a long time until you actually use it if you're not doing a lot of these like YouTube A-roll shoots. And lastly, because it can be replaced by natural light. You can definitely get away with just lighting your stuff with the sun or just having a nice bright window near you. It's not going to be the same look. It's not going to give you the same like quote unquote what you would expect from like a YouTuber's lighting setup, but you can definitely do it. So that's why it landed on number 3 on this list. By far for me, these 3 things are like what leveled up my talking head video look, and it also allowed me to add a lot more good looking b-roll and just upgrade my visuals a lot more. If there are a few cheap upgrades that I would say you can do to spruce up your studio and make it a little bit more yours, I always recommend this sun lamp. Probably get one that changes colors because mine is only this yellow, but setting up these studio looks throughout the house, I realized, some spaces would look so much nicer if there was a different color. So if there are some that like change color, I would take a look at those. They're like $20 in Canadian, so $1 USD or something. I would definitely look into getting one of those. It adds personality and color to your scene, and I basically use it for everything. A second tiny little upgrade that I would say is if you do get a tripod, I would always highly recommend getting a Arca Swiss plate mount. I rave about these things. This is probably one of my most favorite purchases that I've ever made. It just mounts to your camera tripod thing, the plate, and then you can just slide your camera on and off. It makes it way faster. It like reduces the friction of having to screw this thing onto the bottom of your camera, put it on your tripod, and like, I don't know if this is just me, but I like 1000% support any purchasing decision that I make that is going to reduce the friction of me creating videos. So this is absolutely one of my like 10 out of 10 top 2 recommendations for things that I would buy again. So if you're trying to level up your YouTube videos and try and get more like of a studio look, I would definitely consider these 3 items and the little 2 upgrades that I talked about if you don't have them already. All of the tech that I mentioned throughout this video will be included in the description as affiliate links. So if you want to support the channel, definitely feel free to check those out. If you have any other questions about my setup or suggestions or things that I possibly might have missed, leave those in the comments below. I love talking to people in the comments and just like learning. I've been doing a lot of learning in my comment section, and I'd love to see you down. But other than that, I think I'll see you guys next time.